Welcome back to Stationeers, and I thought we'd start this episode off just by covering a couple of updates. So if you're watching this far in the future, I'm sure all of these things, well, they may be quite common to you, but unfortunately, not for us. Let's get started. So some of the updates we've now got, I think, ladders. Let me just grab you. I've selected one on our fabricator control here, so let's just dump in some iron. And that's going to get started. So I'm going to make, I don't know, 6 ladders. Yeah, 6 might be okay. There they go. It's already beating Space Engineers. I'm not bitter. Those of you who don't have no idea what I'm talking about, don't worry. It's a long-term thing in Space Engineers. So I thought that'd be useful to be able to get up there without having to go up a ramp. So, and nicely they are for one full block high. Although I'm not quite sure about them only fitting like this. But do we just walk up? Yeah, we do. They work. And I go into third person accidentally, but other than that, we're fine. Can we actually put them on the side of the blocks while we're climbing? Yeah, we can. Good. I quite like that. And they're probably sprayable as well. I just haven't got any spray around. Although we are somewhat matching it with Mars up here. In any case, ladders. That's one good thing. The other good thing I was having a look at, well, not a good thing for me, but for some of you maybe. Let me just put these away, in fact. I don't think I need any more just yet. There is a new block called an Electrolyzer. Let's see if I can find it in here. I think it's actually the Atmospherics kit. So we can just get the existing Atmospherics kit, wherever it is. Atmospherics and iron, gold, copper. Well, we've got all of that. Copper. And let's just pull this handle and get the iron back out. 83 grams of it, or whatever G actually turns out to be. Oh, am I short on gold? Oh, I'm short on gold. Ah, well. I guess we could, if we had a spare unit, we could do it. Or build it, but I don't have a spare one at the moment. No, everything is in use, so I need to go mining clearly. In any case, it works just like a filtration unit as far as connections are concerned. You put water into the input, and you should be getting hydrogen and oxygen on the output, and it should generate some heat. Otherwise, it should fill the same block space as this. It's orange, I think, by default, according to look at the screenshots. We don't need that waste heat out here, certainly, so if I was going to put that anywhere in my base, I guess I'd have an extra, extension to this room on the inside and have that be in there just to keep everything nice and hot. However, in my base, I don't actually want to get rid of the water. If anything, now I want to make sure I keep enough of it. We've got 351 moles, so I haven't been out ice mining or anything like that. If you have lots of ice, however, and not a lot of oxygen and hydrogen, that may be something you want to do. How much oxygen we have? 2.7 kilomoles, and hydrogen 113 moles. So we're short on hydrogen, but that's okay. We can get volatiles for that job. So that's 2 blocks that are sort of new. Maybe at some point I will, once I've been gold mining, maybe even later this episode, I'll put down a filtration, an electrolyzer. So stuck on filtration units. I'll put down an electrolyzer and then we can see what the outputs are like. One of them noted is does take up 1200 watts. So these back here take between 5 and 1000 watts. They sort of flicker between the two. This is even more amount of essentially power in one block. Nowhere near as much as the air conditioner, but still a significant amount of power to split the water into hydrogen and oxygen. Okay, there are a couple of other things as well that we can't really show you in game because they're not actually available yet. But one of the screenshots, and have a look at their Steam post if you have it on Steam. Go to the Steam, there's a new post up there. There's a rover coming. I'm actually really excited. I don't want to keep walking around to go mining. And it's very much like a Martian rover from The Martian, the Matt Damon film. So yeah, very, 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 very good if we were able to do that. So I do like the idea of maybe having a garage, or garage if you're American, and having some kind of parking structure out here. I've just put these down. There's no supporting blocks or anything like that. But it's a cheap cheap floor surface until I actually need to attach anything. So there's that rover. Also, there are a bunch of other bits and pieces, and let me just quickly have a look. Appears to be a new custom map option, so that's coming soon, it looks like. So we'll be able to have not just Mars, but hey, I suppose we could have even an Earth map, although that'll be pretty boring. I mean, you'd have oxygen, it'd be kind of nice temperatures. Huh, who knows? Also, there is looking like there's going to be removable, rechargeable batteries, and they're pretty much... I'm almost certain they're going to use the same model that they're currently using for this this canister. And I think, well, not the model, sorry, the model for the surround where you plug them into. And they're going to be conveniently the same size as these canisters, or at least that's the way it looks. But they have a gauge on the side for recharging the power. So might be interesting in that if the rover, well, it doesn't show this, but I'm making a good assumption that if the rover needs power, it might need more power than, you know, these batteries that we have here. It seems likely. Even the nuclear battery is maybe a, well, the nuclear battery, it should be the same as one of those, or at least it is at the moment. So maybe there is another method for power. It doesn't say the batteries, but they have a charge indicator on them, and they go from red, yellow, green, and blue. So that's what batteries do in this game. So that's the batteries. Was there anything else I wanted to mention on that post? I don't think so. There are also weapons and various build states for objects that can take damage. So they're sort of preparing us for maybe some kind of aggressive, I don't know, creatures. I would say spiders, but we're going to be talking about Space Engineers again then if I said that. But yeah, there may be some aggressive creatures, or maybe even PvP, that kind of thing possible in the future. In any case, they are already available. You can select the weapons in here, if I remember rightly. Let's zoom down to the bottom. So yeah, there's an energy pistol and an energy rifle, and that needs pretty much everything to make the rifle. So we don't need them. I'm playing on my own, but you might want to think about making them and maybe storing them in a locker somewhere, just so that you're able to defend yourself should there be a surprise patch and we may need to defend ourselves. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do that's actually sort of relatively straightforward this episode is tear up this floor again. Not for very long, but just for long enough. And just get rid of that floor grating for a second. And we're going to get rid of this waste pipe here. We're going to actually take it underneath and into that hot pipe, I think. And that just requires me to perhaps drill out things a little bit more. And we've got space there, so if we just... for argument's sake, just get rid of this frame for a minute. And this frame. Put those in our backpack. I do have my drill, so we can just grab this. And let's get rid of some of this underneath section. And we should be able to get over there. Yep. I may have to step through this for a second. And put that back. Just get rid of you as well. There we go. Back to the drill. And is that our waste pipe I see? Yeah, it is. I've got 3-point. Well, no, we're definitely not going to need the 3-point. We're going to bring it back over here, I think. And if we just get rid of this land for a second. And it's going to be straight up here and into that hot pipe there. So why don't we go and grab you and put my drill away. Shouldn't need it anymore, hopefully. And just disconnect that one and that one. Yeah, it's not going to like it, but that's not going to be very long. And we don't need to go not much further down than this. I'm not going to need to go all the way to the bottom of this, so we can just flip this around. Bring this pipe back over here. And the point of this is that instead of just venting it back into the atmosphere, this gas is going to be slightly hotter already than the refill system that we currently have, which is the one that's actually producing like minus 60 degrees cold gas. So if we are going to refill it anyway, we may as well use something guaranteed to be above minus 60. And let's just get you in there. And of course that will then let us use less energy overall. I think I did mention this last episode, but it's fine just in case you haven't seen that one. And then we can just pull that pipe section and have a T-junction. All right, there we go. So now, whenever we pull exhaust gas out of our filtration system, it should go back into the heating system, which is, this shows the temperature of the room, not the temperature of, let me show you the temperature. It's going to be quite cold at the moment, I suspect. Yeah, minus 31 degrees. So it should always remain CO2 because we're filtering out anything else. But yeah, we should be using power. See, that's higher than this. And this should naturally be getting a little bit warmer, hopefully. If we do have enough pressure, we should have enough pressure. That is getting slightly warmer. Okay, and maybe we should put more pressure in there. In any case, I don't need to do that on camera. I just want to put the flooring back down, so this isn't atrocious. Let's just get this down like this, and grab the rest from our pack. That's steel sheets. In fact, I don't need to replace the flooring back down there because we can use that as a kind of access tube. We can just put the covering over the top here. And of course, I probably want to reclaim that, don't I? So let's just grab this and this. There we go. And put our floor back down. I do quite like this area right here now. And in fact, it's trying to already use this. Although I thought I'd turn the writer off. In any case, I don't need to worry about it on camera. I can also fix it later. You know how the whole thing works. So one thing I did want to do this episode, aside from improving that system, was also to take a look at sorters and stackers and all that kind of stuff. We haven't got to that kind of stuff yet. So just in case you didn't watch my last season, did I make a stacker? I thought I'd made one. Iron and copper. So I just need iron and copper from up there. And we'll make one of these as well. Okay, so let's make a stacker. Already made a sorter. Looks somewhat like this. Let me just get this one first to make sure. Yeah, let's change that. So let's put this down. Doesn't matter where we put it for now, it's just for testing. And we can rotate it whichever way we want. I think sort of in a final form, we'd want it sort of facing this way. So let's just put it down here. It's an unassuming block. There's an import slot and there's a couple of export slots. A power switch and power and data. The data is going to be important because this doesn't really appear to have much in the way of, well, much in the way of anything going here. No display, no menu we can click on. And we need to configure this with a computer. So I'm going to need a computer temporarily anyway. So I guess we could sort of just hook this up to the system and see if I can address it with the other computer by swapping a motherboard out. I'm probably going to need gold though. But let's give this a go and see if that's needed. So we're just going to hook this up to the network. We're not going to be too concerned about how just yet. Again, this is just for a test. And let's just cut you. Yeah, oh, it's nice when it's silent like that. All right, I'm back to the noise again. What is it that's even making the noise? Computer's off. Is it the power controller? It's annoying if it is. I really wish we could have separate audio controls for machines to turn them all the way off if we needed to. In any case, we've got a sorter. And what we actually need is a motherboard for it. So let's just take a look here if we can get to the circuit boards. Or motherboards. Where are you? In fact, we may well want to go through the other machine. Let's just go through the other machine. It's easier. Electronics. Okay, so we don't want any cartridge. Circuit boards. Is it circuit on circuit boards? Door control, ship display, solar control. No. I want the motherboard sorter. Gold. And silver. First time it's actually required silver. Now I did actually go and grab some silver, but I've never actually changed it into, yeah, I've never actually cooked it up in a furnace or anything. Again, as it's just a pure exercise in pure metal, then I'm just going to put it in an arc furnace. We are going to get to arc furnaces again soon, don't worry. I'm not going to be too concerned about the gases in here, really not. We will capture them soon enough. So we've got some silver on the go. I need to go mining to get some gold. We've got the stacker while we're at it. Get the idea. It's a very similar kind of looking block to this. So if we just rotate it this way, thankfully did the power just go out? No. Maybe my backpack power just did for the light. It's not quite normal. Yeah, it did. Let's just grab you, swap you out. There we go. Yes, I will make a new nuclear battery. But yes, stackers, if we haven't looked at those as well. Stackers allow you to configure the amount of items in them before they'll open. So if you configured this, and you can do this with a wheel, stack size 1. If we want to change this to, let's say, 10, we can do, just by clicking, and 1s by alt-clicking. And if then I put it after, say that top machine, and set to pipes, it will only ever release every time it got to 10 pipes. Really kind of useful in general as a sort of aid to producing lots of items, so they don't go all over the place. Same thing with cable coils and various frames. So if you wanted dedicated machines like this for those specific items, you definitely want to put a stacker after them. But when you do, you may want to either think about either being able to configure this remotely somehow. So you probably want a button of some kind that starts up the machine and, I don't know, stops it after a certain amount, and then hits the clear stacker, and it will just drop whatever whatever you made out into a system. In this case, a system of chutes is going to come out here. I'm not going to need the stacker this episode, but I think I do want to think about the sorter this episode. So I'm going to need to go mining first, and we'll see you once hopefully I find some more gold, and we'll get some more bits and pieces made, see if we can configure that sorter. Alright, I've been gold mining, and I do need to put in a separate sort of spine from this system. I need to upgrade this all to heavy cable, probably up to around here, and then maybe split off in two directions. One to the rest of our base, just like before, and the other one going this way, heading to that heater circuit. That consumes an awful lot of power, and remember last episode I ran it completely out of gas because we were just inserting from cold. Well, it's still warming things back up again. It's got this whole system now up to well, close to 2 MPa, and on this side we've got 1.43 MPa. This one's got 1.2 MPa. Yeah, so it's much hotter on this side, as you might expect, but that's fine. What should happen, however, once we start the system back up again, is it should never drop in pressure. It may drop in temperature, but it should never drop in pressure. So we probably we can leave this off, yeah, except for emergencies. But however, it does need a lot more power. Why I can't get underneath there? It needs a lot more power than we're providing it through the rest of our base, because of this cable unable to take 5 kilowatts, and combined with everything else in the base as well, it's not quite enough there. So what we need to do is just upgrade this spine. I'm not going to worry about it just now, but just if you're following along, do that. I had a couple of good suggestions about that. We could do a kind of spine all the way through the base, but then every time we need to branch off from it, we'd want a power controller. Not so sure about that yet. We may well need that anyway, because if we have a bank of some kind of furnaces along here, when they're all on, they may well require, more power than we're able to manage at the moment. Are you ready to ignite? Not far away. In fact, just take a quick look. Yeah, because I don't have the power, I'm just going to use this setup. I'm going to start it up now, in fact, and that's going to produce silver. And then I'm just going to grab the gold as well. There we go. And once that feeds through, that should produce gold at the bottom. There we go. We can flush it later. We don't have to worry about it for now. Turn the computer back off. And we should be able to make that motherboard I was talking about. So in goes some gold, in goes some silver. And we're ready to make a sorter motherboard. We are. We may well need the data disk. I've got a sneaky suspicion we may well be able to use it, but we might even need to use it. Let's give it a go. So let's just swap that out for the manufacturing motherboard and turn this on. So sorter, there's only one available on the network, so it's showing up directly. Good. So whitelist, what are we going to do with this sorter? Let me just remove the stacker out of the way because we don't need it this episode. In fact, I need to swap back to my tool belt from the mining belt. Let's just put you over here, swap that out, and grab that. There we go. So there goes the stacker. What are we going to do? Well, when we come back from mining, if we insert something into this chute bin or something like that, we may well want this sorter to separate things. Now, if you don't configure it, from memory, it acts like a splitter in Factorio. It puts one side, one the other, one side, one the other. That's perfectly fine if you're trying to divide something up to a lot of different machines. So if we had an underground or even above here somewhere, a set of these so that we probably want an even number of furnaces because we need to go from 2 to another machine here. So that would go to 4 because there'd be 1 here and 1 here. And then from those 4, we go outwards again to 8. So maybe 4 or 8 furnaces should do the job. And then whatever goes into the first thing would get split up into the various different sides. Now, interestingly there is if it is stacks of 50, we may have to split those stacks up first. So we can put them through sorters to make them go into stacks of 1 if we wanted to, or maybe stacks of 10. If you've got any suggestions on that, put them in the comments below for other people to speculate before the next episode, because there's many different ways of doing that, and if we really want things evenly split, we want to, of course, fit things into 1s maybe, or 2s at the most. We're never quite sure of how much stuff is going into it to start with. However, the sorter, as you might imagine from the name, can do other things, and one thing I wanted to try this episode is to see, I think we can separate the mining belts from ores. And the important part there is if I come back from mining, let's say we got this belt here, and I've got all this stuff in it, I don't want to have to go through each one and just drop that. There's some copper, there's some more copper. Nope, I just want to dump this stuff into the system and have it taken care of for us. So if we can do that automatically, I'd be much more impressed. And let me just put this away and let me get this back because this is going to be our test case, I guess. So what happens if I tell it to whitelist? Let me just turn this on. Yeah. If I tell it to whitelist belts, so if I do that, then anything that isn't a belt should go onto that side of things. And if it is a belt, it should stay on this side, I think. It's been a while, but we should still be able to configure this. So whitelist, we can maybe, we've got a list of items anyway, so we can go through the entire items. Let's go down to mining belt. You could do it the other way around. You could do whitelist of ores as well. That would work perfectly fine. But let's just give this a whitelist of mining belt, shall we? Now, is that automatically configured? I don't think it needs something to write to it, but the other thing you'd do if you wanted to configure this to multiple, I think you can insert a data disk and use that to copy across. However, let's actually just assume that is now working. And let's try and pop this in and let's see what happens. Does it actually work? Okay, so whitelist pushes it this side, fine, but it doesn't separate out the contents. What happens if we change that to be ores? Will it detect the ores inside the mining belt, I wonder? So let's go up here and just say ores. Ore. Okay, does that have a different behavior now? Well, this side is definitely the whitelist side. Yeah, that should make more sense, actually. I should have said that the wrong way around. Yet, because it's not the pass-through port, it's the thing that isn't the pass-through port. However, it still isn't picking up the contents of this mining belt. Okay, now, I did intend to say, hey, the stacker is just for the purposes I've just explained it for. But it turns out, as far as I know, it's the only thing that can separate ores from mining belts. Because you'd expect this to be able to differentiate between the two and just output. Nope. Nope. The thing called a sorter can't sort. However, the thing called a stacker can take this, which has got one stack of copper, half stack of coal, and the belt. And if we put it through here, boom, out comes everything. Okay, so if we have a stacker in front, at least one, if not more, I guess we can do more than one if we want a high capacity, but no need to worry about that to start off with. For example, you could just have a sorter like this on split mode and have two stackers behind it, and you'd be able to just dump in multiple mining belts and stuff like that. That's the easy way to chain them. But we can take this as kind of our input, and on the other side we can then insert that into a sorter. This is going to have to flip this around, but do exactly the same setup we already have. And now what we'll get is, depending which way around it's actually configured at the moment. Oh, I've got the fabricator on. Let's just swap that. So if we have it set to ore, where's ore? There you are. Let's make sure we select that. So with that selected here, then all the ores are going to go that way, if we have a chute going that way from this port. And then the mining belts will come out of this side, and we can just return them back to the player, me, for example. So I need to put that on this side if I want to do anything with it, which I guess we can do. Let me just grab my tool belt for a second and make sure this does actually work and I'm not just hallucinating this kind of feature. It's a very odd one that the stacker does this, but I'll accept anything that works at this point. So let's just grab the stacker, and we want to flip that around. Is the power on this side? It looks like it is, so that should be relatively straightforward to just cut to pieces. And let's just make sure we have that configured correctly. One corner. Okay, I know there is a gap in between them. You can sort of fill them with chutes. I think that's perfectly fine, though, if there's a tiny gap like that. We'll soon see in a second anyway. But let's turn you on. Make sure it's set to a stack size of 1. And for some reason, when that goes through a mining belt, it doesn't sort of correspond to a stack size of 1. It just says, hey, well, yeah, let's just separate them, I guess. So there we go. And now we should get a mining belt out of this side and ores out of that side, right? Ready? Let's give this a go. Let's put our mining belt in after a long, hard day of mining. And ores, 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 mining belt. Great, it works. So now we can take that and put it to a chute, to not necessarily a bin, but to an outlet or something just in a roped off area. And then we can feed this side into, well, whatever really. We're going to feed them into perhaps arc furnaces. I'm going to leave that till next episode because we are approaching time. And just to give you guys an idea of, well, give you an idea of a bit of a comment war on how best to split those up. What I will do is, if no one suggests anything better, is we'll take more of these sorters, but instead I'll label this one to be like our mining belt splitter. And then the rest we'll just set up in an array that will just take all of these ores and split them evenly as much as possible into the top of furnaces. Hope you've enjoyed this one. There's been a bit of a talking of me talking about the updates and just bits and pieces around, you know, improving this setup. It's up to 3 degrees now. I will run that spine between the episodes down there, another power bus, I guess we should call it, rather than a spine. And then I think, yeah, I think the arc furnace setup is next. So we'll need to enclose this space, get gas capture going. We've got a nice output line back there we can use for our gas capture. And I think what I'm going to do as well is also next episode configure these filtration units to sense whether there's anything in the input line. And if there is, turn on, and if there isn't, turn back off. Granted, even leaving them all on would only be, what, 6 times 5, so 30 watts. So you can just leave them all on if you want to. There's no harm in doing that either. But we've got the basis of a kind of input to our furnace here. Just need some chutes now, and I did do some circuitry last season on how you automatically fire furnaces. That's maybe another thing people want to put in the comments. If you've seen last episode, last season, you see how I did it previously. I did one very bad way of doing it, which caused the entire furnace setup to just flicker constantly like crazy. The other rather good way of doing it is to check whether there's anything in the input of the furnace, and I think you also have to check the output. But I'll check the wiki as well to see if there's any updates for the furnaces, and then you basically you read that and then you just write back to the furnace and just say trigger. The important distinction here is that if we have 4 furnaces going, will we need 4 sets of that circuitry? That will be kind of power inefficient, unfortunately. But at the same time, if we don't do that, what we'll have to do is read one of them, and on the assumption that this sorter system will split things evenly, we'll read one of them and read its output as well, and then try and trigger all of them. That has a really bad downside, that if that's not the one that has something in it, they'll never start up. So we have to be careful about that. I may set it up one way, and I'm sure you guys will want to get involved and try and improve it, because that's what a lot of the comments on this channel, and certainly this season of Stationeers, has been all about. Until next time, hopefully you enjoyed this idea of separating our mining belts out. Hopefully you really liked it for your own setup. Feel free to leave comments below, like, subscribe, share it as normal, and as always guys, thanks for watching.